Adam and Eve, first man and woman in the Garden of Eden, Genesis 1, 2, and 3. God said, you can have any tree you want in the entire garden. Don't eat from this one right over here. That's mine. But you can eat from anywhere else. Sounds good? So that's great. That's great. Well, obviously there's a devil out that wants to wreck your life, and he was there in a snake's body, gets into a snake's body, comes up to Eve, slides up there, starts talking, and that's what he does to you. So, are you sure? He said, did God really say that you shouldn't eat of the tree? And she saw that it was pleasing to the eyes, and it's, so she just kind of, oh man. How many of us have said, I'll just try it. It's probably okay. And then we're like, oh shoot. Eve takes a bite of the fruit, gives it to Adam. Adam eats the fruit right there with her. And there you have the fall. The entrance of evil into the world. It's the entrance of the devil being the god of this world. Their spiritual eyes were open on the inside, and the light of God went out, and they just, all of a sudden, they looked down, they're naked. They didn't know they were naked. They had fear come at them for the first time, and all these feelings that were not of God, just like, oh my goodness. So that happened. All of a sudden, God's looking for them, and Adam and Eve hid. He knew where they were, but it was like, where are you spiritually? Where are you? Like, we had this communion, and now all of a sudden, you're gone. What happened? Genesis 3 verse 11, God said, who told you that you were naked? Who told you? Those 3 words you can use in your life every single day. You need to be able to sort out your thoughts. You need to be able to distinguish between God's voice and the enemy's voice. Because the enemy's voice is very depressing. He guilts you. He shames you. He says you're worthless. He says you're nothing. You are a mistake. He'll tempt you to do things, and then when you do them, he'll shame you for it. He's just a jerk. We need to know God's voice. We need to know what God's voice sounds like so that we can distinguish these thoughts, because these thoughts are coming in all day long. Some of them are God, some of them are the enemy. God's voice, he says that he's a shepherd and we're his sheep. So he said that my sheep know my voice. They hear me. A voice of a stranger they will not follow. If you've been talking on the phone to somebody that you know, somebody else can't come on there and be like, yeah, I'm this person. You're like, no, you're not. Our voices are very distinguishable, and we can tell who's calling. You won't even have to look at caller ID. You're just like, oh, I recognize that voice. And with God, it's the same thing. So the more that we know God, the clearer that we're like, oh, okay, that's him, that's him, that's him. And you figure out what his voice sounds like. Way back in the day, my dad had cows. He would call the cows. He had a certain call that he would say, and all the cows would come because they heard his voice and they knew that he had food for them. He had the good stuff. He had the cheesecake. So there'd be days where my dad was gone and I was at home, and I wanted to see if the cows would come to me. So I would go and stand at the fence, and I would give the call that my dad would say, and I would yell out to the cows, and they'd stop what they were doing. They looked at me. Yeah, and they wouldn't come to me because they knew my dad. And they knew that I was not my dad, and they were used to my dad's voice and not little Nancy's voice. So God says we can know his voice, and we will follow his voice, and we won't get discouraged by the other one. So don't listen to the devil saying that you're not worth it, that your life is not worth living, and everybody's better off without you if you're not even here. And he'll deceive you into taking your own life, thinking that you're doing everybody else a service. That is not what God wants you to do. That is a lie from the enemy, and if he can deceive you, he will. He'll trick you with things, and then you start believing them, and you think, oh, well, I guess maybe, and you falter a little bit, and you kind of go to his side and his way, and you're like, well, yeah, I'm not good at this, and here we go. There's the path that the enemy wants you to go down. Don't do it. Who told you that you were worthless? God didn't tell you that. It's the enemy. Shut the devil down by saying, devil, get under my feet. I will not listen to you one more day. I am very valued. I am highly prized to God. He is my friend. He is my father. I hear his voice. I'm following his voice. So you can just shove it. You have to tell the enemy that. Otherwise, he'll just keep bothering you, and you'll just start believing it. And then you'll get depressed and you'll get down and you'll get discouraged, oppression, all of that. And eventually the enemy wants to take you out. Do not let him get there. You have good days ahead of you. Give God a shot. Let him work in your life. Please trust him. God, I am here in this situation right now. I've been listening to lies of the enemy. I say today that stops. And I'm going to go with you. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to learn how to hear you. And life will get very good. Life will get better and better. And you'll start getting thoughts and concepts and ideas from God for you to succeed versus listening to the enemy's lies. So who told you? What kind of thoughts are coming in your head today? Where are they coming from? Who told you? God says that he's very pleased with you. You're doing just fine.